Hey, my dudes, welcome. I've been trying out a bit of a new process here. I thought I'd share it with you. This might be particularly helpful for you if you really like to work digitally, you like the flexibility of digital, but you really want to have like a physical, tangible, inked piece of paper for that artwork. And this isn't a print or anything. This is literally just mixing the best of both worlds is what I found. And so what I've been doing is I sketch out my drawings digitally using Photoshop or Sketchbook Pro or Procreate or whatever you got, because I'm very comfortable sketching digitally. And one of the cool things about digital sketching is you get to warp and manipulate and copy and paste and try things out. Maybe you want to try shadows, maybe you want to try like different pose of the arm or something. You know, it's so much faster than actually erasing on paper. And there are ups and downs to this, but I found that it's a really efficient system, especially for drawing comic books or drawing something that I really want to have on paper, because then once I've got the layout pretty much exactly how I want it, I then transfer it over, which is the image you're seeing on the screen now. This is my super ghetto tracing board. Basically, I just take my 28-inch monitor and I turn it sideways and I put it onto a big paper. This paper is something like 20 inches by 20 inches by 20 inches or something like that. It's massive. I mean, not massive by comic book page standards, but it's big because most of my comic pages I'm drawing on A4 size, like small, almost 8.5 by 9 inch or 8.5 by 10. But I've been thinking like I might want to up that to the 9 by 13 or something like that. Just a little bit larger paper for comic pages because, man, when you're working really small, you got to get in there. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, you know what I'm saying? So maybe I want to work just a little bit better. You can get a little bit sloppier and it cleans it up when you shrink it down. The more you shrink it down, the more it cleans it up. That's true with all comic books, by the way. That's why a lot of comic book artists work on 11 by 17, because it cleans up all the little things that might go wrong, little squigglies, anything that might be too fat of lines. They get super thinned out and it looks super tight when you shrink it down or something. Anyway, the point being, once you transfer it over, then you've got these kind of like just rough pencils, but it looks like a tracing because you literally just traced it off of your own sketch that you did digitally. But what's cool about this is it gives you this feeling that, well, it feels like you're collaborating with another person, especially if you do the digital sketch one day, and then the second day you come in and you're looking at this transfer onto paper. Some artists will do this more complicated process where they take their digital drawing and they print it out in blue line onto a thicker, larger page. But I feel like that's a bit more of a, that's if you're cranking these out every single day, man, maybe that is the best way to go, because then you don't have to do that process of like tracing it out onto the page. It's just like whatever you sketched is there. But that really has to kind of be your thing, your thing, because if you're cranking out, a lot of these, then yeah, that makes sense to get a printer that'll print on thicker paper, and it'll get the Blue Line Pro or the Blue Line Blue Ink, so that you can get rid of that when you go like scan it in and all that. But it's just a much more elaborate setup, and I don't know that I'm ready to commit to that just yet. Although I have been just doing a lot of this, and so it might be worth it. I might go that route. I'll keep you posted if I do pick up a printer that does that. If I start changing my process, I'm trying to just document a lot more of this as I'm doing it. And when I did a little bit of research into this, I've been looking into how manga artists draw, specifically Eiichiro Oda, who is the artist and writer on One Piece. He works this way, where he draws all of his stuff out digitally, and then he writes the pages digitally, and then he draws it all out in these super rough sketches and compositions, and then he passes that along to his team, and he has something like 4 or 5 people that, well, they know this is what Sanji looks like, and this is what Chopper looks like, and they know the details. And so even when Eiichiro Oda gets a little bit messy with his rough sketches, they go in and they're able to like clean that up. And it's a good way to work with a team. And I think that it might be a really great solution if you're looking to do a comic, but you want to keep original artwork. You want to be able to have that on paper. It's something where having a tangible physical piece of paper with the original on it. One, it can supplement your income, because these days it's nice to go to a trade show like a comic show, and some people want to own the originals. They want to own a physical drawing of that particular artist if they're really like that book or something. And so it can be a good way to just add a few more dollars to your profits from a book, for example, or just hang on to some of them. I keep some of my old drawings in frames because it's almost like a relic from the past, but it's also like, it's freaking cool to have a framed inked piece of original artwork from something that you did that's printed, and there are thousands of copies all over the world, but you've got that original one that you did. And a lot of artists, a lot of artists will say, oh, I don't really like any of my own art. And that's certainly, I always feel like I want to redraw everything I do, but there's a kind of, and I would never get it tattooed, by the way. I'd never get my own art tattooed on myself because I would want to redraw it every few years. But my point just being that it's really nice to kind of have this one of a kind documented piece of your own history, of that moment in time when you drew that scene, or when you drew that character in that cool pose, or that moment in the story that really mattered and had a lot of impact, and to hold on to that and keep it. And especially if maybe something that you're making compounds and grows into something more, it's really nice to have that original. Back when I started in comic books, I was 16 years old and I didn't really know the value of original artwork. So at the time, I had a letters column in the back of my Creed comic, and I would just literally send out to anyone who sent me a letter, the first 20 people that sent me a letter in the mail, I would send them back an original piece of artwork. David Cho from the TV series Beef, he was on a podcast and he was talking about how he owns an original. He was one of the guys that wrote into me when I was doing my Creed comic. He has an original Creed page. I don't know if he still has it. The guy's probably doesn't really care. I don't know. It seemed to have left a mark though, because he did mention it in his podcast that he was on. It's neat to know, or to find out, where some of my pages went after I sent them out. The guy that got the original artwork that I did for Ghost Rider back in 2000, he worked at a wine company where they printed artwork onto wine bottles, and so he printed that artwork onto a wine bottle. He even sent me one. You don't get that kind of a thing with digital. So like some of those pages are still out there, and every now and then I'll still see them pop up, and I remember what I was doing as I was drawing every single page that I ever drew. And so it's kind of nice to have that. When it comes to digital, I don't have that as much because I was kind of always in the same spot. With paper, I can kind of take that anywhere. And so I love to travel. I love to sit in cafes and draw ink on paper. It's so much fun. And so this process has really been helping me to rekindle my love for just drawing comics and drawing on paper with ink. And I watch some of my other videos if you're interested in digging in a little bit more into the tools that I use and my process for drawing comics and stuff. If this sort of a thing interests you, please do subscribe. I, of course, do have a ton of free digital artist starter kits over on my Gumroad channel, as well as how to make comics and stuff like that. If you're interested in getting more serious about telling stories and drawing comics and making art, if you got a project going or if you tried this process, please do let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, ciao.